Oh, there goes the bell.
The days and
Good
times. But hopefully
afternoon,
somebody at the
Catalina
meeting to-
Rotarians. If you would please be upstanding, we will begin our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
standing. Our own Liz Wilson will share with us a few moments and thoughts. Liz, please come forward.
Happy Valentine's Day. Almost. And I see BJ's in the mood, so very good tie. Here's a brief poem. Hope is of the valley. Effort stands upon the mountaintop facing the sun. Hope dreams of dreams made true and great deeds done. Effort goes forth with pulling feet and hands to obtain the far off sun-touched table lands of great desire. And until the end is won, looks not below for the long strife begun in pleasant fields, rocks and sands. Hope. But when hope bids, looks within her glass and shows the wondrous things which may befall, wait not for destiny, wait not at all, nor sink in hesitation's deep morass. Sound thou to all the powers in the trumpet call, and staff in hands dive up the mountain pass. William Bernard. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. We do have a visitor among us with one of our sojourners. Pat, would you like to introduce your visitor? Welcome back, Susan. And I need to take this opportunity to let all of you know that Pat's son-in-law, David Montano, passed away very suddenly earlier this week from the ravages of COVID. And
intermittent audio everywhere on
take a little moment to appreciate all that we have. So please keep David in your prayers and keep Pat and her family there as well. Thank you. And another announcement is this is the last month of Let's Can Polio. So if you're sitting around in these lovely 70-degree afternoons, drinking beer, do so out of a can, not out of a bottle. Throw the can in the bag, and please bring it to the first meeting next month, which will be Friday, March 4th. And we'll see if we can't have a big group of cans ready to go to celebrate this last event. Arturo, do you want to say anything about rodeo signups, speaking of cans of beer?
Well, thank you, Andy. Yes, we're still looking for a few more signups. We're looking good, but we're still few shy on Sunday, the 27th. So it's the second Sunday, the second weekend is where we're still short a few people. So gather your friends, gather your family members, and come on out, have some fun. Thank you, Andy.
Thanks, Arturo. And another announcement today comes from our own PDG Kirk Reed, who promises he won't speak for more than 10 minutes.
I was quite surprised last week when an ecumenical group here in Tucson asked me if I would present my new book as a seminar, which looks like this. It's called The Colors of Faith. I've been careful not to bring a lot of my professional interest into Rotary, but I realize that since this is open to the whole community, some of you may be interested in being part of it. So when I present something, I try to make it fun and try to make sure people learn something new. So what I'll do, I'll just put a page on each table. If you're interested, just talk to me at the meeting or email me, and I'll save you a spot at the seminar. If you're not selling beer on the 26th, you might consider it if you're interested in the whole concept of spiritual journeys. That's really what the book is about. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Kirk. We have a very special speaker with us today. It's not easy to get on his calendar, and it's not easy to be able to carve out enough time to give a full hearing for this young man. His name is Thomas Robertson. Some of you may have met him around town. He's active in several organizations and enjoys going to basketball games. Tom is a senior vice president at Presidio Group Wealth Management in Tucson, Arizona. He is active in many civic and professional organizations in and around Tucson. He currently serves as a member of the Tucson Air Guardians, past president of the board of directors of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Tucson, active member of the Rotary Club of Tucson, Catalina, and served as president of the club and assistant district governor in Rotary District 5500. Additionally, Tom is active in the Stephen Phillips Tucson Tax Study Group and taught courses in leadership and communication at the Rotary Leadership Institute. He is a former part-time ski instructor at Sunrise Park Resort. I didn't know that one. He serves as a member of the Professional Advisory Board of the Community Foundation of Southern Arizona, as a director of the Southern Arizona Defense Alliance, and a member of the Marine Corps Memorial Club in San Francisco, California, and the San Diego Navy Yacht Club. He's married to Cindy, a retired pharmaceutical representative at Novartis, and they have 2 children and they reside in Tucson. And then it gets interesting. Prior to his current career, Tom spent 20 years in the United States Air Force, retiring in September of 1997 with the rank of lieutenant colonel. He has 3,500 flying hours in the F-111F, the F-111D, and the F-111A, and I don't know how to distinguish between the 3 of them. The Buccaneer, the Hawk, the Hunter, the Jet Provost, the EC-130H, the F-16, I know that one, and the A-7D. He's a graduate of both the U.S. Air Force Fighter Weapons School, and the RAF Qualified Weapons Instructor School. He served as an exchange officer for 3 years in the 237 Squadron, Royal Air Force, in the Maritime Strike Role, and was commander of the Detachment 602 Tactical Air Wing. I'm going to be corrected at some point. And without further ado, I'll end there. Everything else you can get on Google. And so most importantly, beyond his Rotary activities and the Air Force, is that Tom is an Eagle Scout. The one rank in Boy Scouts that you never lose. You can be a former many things, but once you are an Eagle Scout, you are always an Eagle Scout. Without further ado, Mr. Robertson.
Appreciate the intro. I actually had Matt set up to do this in a short intro because Matt and I were talking about the topic today, and at the time he needed a program for the following week. And he said, "Sounds like a program for me. Can you do it?" And I went, "Sure," but we got delayed a little bit. So, can you put that up full screen? Thanks. I've got some handouts here. I've only done this a few times. I know that if you give handouts before you talk, nobody hears you because they're reading the handouts. And I also have a couple of auction items. Marines Memorial Wine, one of our members lives in somewhere in California, in Sonoma, and does our wine for us. So I'll put it over here so I don't forget it. Oh. Now, I'm going to go through this. If you have questions. Oh, thank you. Thank you. So as I go through this, if you have questions, please ask them. I will tell you up front, I am not a military historian. I wish I knew as much military history when I was on active duty as I do now, because I'm reading a lot more. But if you have questions on military history, I may be able to answer them. If not, I'll defer to Al. But anyway, I thought you might want to hear about the Marines Memorial Association for a number of reasons. How many veterans we have in the club here? Okay, 3, okay, 4. And I know we have some on Zoom as well. So I thought that might interest veterans. And then the other thing is that the Marines Memorial Association is pretty interesting from a military history standpoint. And they also share a lot of the core values that Catalina Rotary has. We're very interested in veterans, like our Veterans Project. This is, no kidding, a living veterans project that's been going on since 1930 or 47. We're interested in literacy. We give scholarships, a lot of scholarships, and then racial equity. So interestingly enough, when as a club, when we started the program on racial equity, Anita asked me, well, does the military have any programs for racial equity? And I said, Anita, I've been out longer than I was in. I've been retired 23 years. I don't know what it's like now, but I'm going to show you what we're doing at the Marines Memorial Association to look at racial equity in the military. So to get going here, so this is our building. This is on Sutter Street. Anybody been to San Francisco lately? Okay. So Sutter Street, that's the St. Francis Hotel on Union Square. So the top of the mark is straight up Nob Hill, 3 blocks this way. And then Golden Gate Park is about 5 miles out of the way, straight up Sutter Street. Okay, to put you in perspective. So next slide, please. Okay, our mission. We operate as a 501c19, and that's a charitable organization. It's a military charitable organization. That's how we maintain our tax-free status. And I'll talk a little bit more about that, but to maintain our tax-free status, 90% of our members have to be either active duty or retired or veterans who have served during a wartime period. That's what the IRS definition says. You don't necessarily have to have seen conflict, but you need to have served when there's been a conflict going on. That's pretty easy because it seems like there's always something going on out there. So anyway, and that was founded in 1946. And then in 2015, we started a 501c3 organization, and it was mainly actually for fundraising. We had a capital campaign for the building, and it turns out that a lot of companies, donor advised funds, individuals, trusts, foundations can only contribute to a 501c3 corporation, even though the money goes to the same place and it's used for the same reasons. And anyway, and they're, we both audited, by a public accounting firm, et cetera. So the thing that's different, and I'll go into this in the history here, is our mission is to honor the legacy of military service through a living memorial. So what's a living memorial? I'm here to tell you, I didn't know until I really got involved in this, but it's to commemorate, educate, and serve veterans of all era. Now, this is the Marines Memorial, and you're going to see that we've evolved. This used to say Marines of all areas, currently serving members of the Marines. We have evolved, okay? It's all armed services, and it's actually been that way since the beginning, but we're really trying to get that message out now. So anyway, so commemorate those who have gone before us and serve the veterans that are still carrying on the good fight. So that's the living memorial part. Next slide, please. And you know what? Before I talk history, I tell everybody, like a lot of you, I've been involved in a lot of organizations around town. Most of them, if I look back on it, has something to do with what my kids were doing at the time. But the two organizations that that I've really stuck with because of what they do is Catalina Rotary and the Boys and Girls Club. I started thinking about this. I actually joined the Marines Memorial Association in 1978. And so and the reason why is because they had a great hotel in San Francisco. So I got more active as I had some business in San Francisco, and I've been going over there regularly since 2005. And once again, I was using the hotel. So anybody know Bob Johnson here in town? General Bob Johnson, former Deputy Commandant of the Marine Corps. Anyway, he approaches me back in 2015. And he's also a cyclist, and I've ridden the tour with him as well. And he said, Tom, I need you to think about joining the MMA board. And I go, really? Why is that? And he goes, we're trying to diversify our board. And I'm sitting there looking at him going, holy cow, General, you look just like me. I mean, what do you mean? He says, you're in the Air Force. He said, we're the Marines Memorial Association, and we need more members from other services. So I started thinking about it, and I joined that board in February of 2020. I was on the finance committee, and I'm head of the audit committee. What happened in March? Everything in San Francisco shut down. We went from being a $20 million operation with a 90% occupancy rate to zero. I mean, literally, but that's just to put it in perspective, and you can ask questions about that if you want later. So next slide, please. Okay, this is the building. It's a corner of Sutter and Mason Street. It was built in 1927 as the Western Women's Club. And you know what? That area of San Francisco, if you don't know it, is still clubland. I mean, we share the parking garage with the Olympic Club, the Bohemian Clubs around the corner. Right across the street is another active women's club, not called the San Francisco Club. It's called the San Francisco Club. It's still there right across the street. Anyway, so they built this building, and it was a women's club. And they went bankrupt in 1930 because of the Great Depression. The club sat empty. And then what happened was, historically, after World War II, when people were coming back from overseas service, we're putting up monuments all over the country. And so the Commandant of the Marine Corps said, you know what, I don't want a piece of granite somewhere with my Marines' names on it. He says, I want a living memorial. So they paid $800,000 for that building right there. Is that, can you hear me better there? I should talk into it. Anyway, and it's fascinating to me when you read these old newspaper stories. This Western Women's Club, I don't remember the quote exactly, but it was supposed to be the finest monument to womanhood in the United States of America. And unfortunately, it wasn't open very long. The other thing was between just before the war, it was used as a barracks for waves. Anybody know what a wave is? So what do you think it is? Just in the Navy, right? Do you know what WAVE actually stands for? Women Accepted for Voluntary Emergency Service. Isn't that amazing? I mean, I didn't know that, but anyway. So next slide. Okay, so a little bit about membership. We have a diverse membership. Next slide. Uh-oh. Oh, yeah. Okay. Meaning that we are actually open to anybody who is a veteran who has been on active duty or honorably discharged in any of the United States Armed Services. So we're not just a Marines memorial, it's all services. So active duty people and their kids, retirees, active duty Marines, and this guy's been retired for a while, I can tell you. And then here's a retired Air Force officer and a retired Navy officer there. So we're also open to retired members of foreign services. We actually have some pretty cool members and some great speakers who come from, foreign services that are that make up our membership as well. And we also keep the price down because we want to encourage membership from all ranks, anybody who's been a veteran or who's on active duty. Next slide. Yeah. I'm sorry, the bulldog there? Yeah, they're bulldogs. Yeah, but guess what? We actually had 3 bulldogs in the club. Now we only got 2 because one passed away. We're looking for another one. But these are the ceramic bulldogs. They're behaved. You don't have to do anything with them. Anyway, those, so the bulldog is the mascot of the Marines. You probably knew that. Okay, benefits of membership. And this is actually how I got, I think, talking to Matt about it. I think I was trying to get Matt to join. So benefits of membership, you get access to the Marines Memorial Club in San Francisco. We have affiliations with clubs worldwide. And does anybody belong to an organization that has that benefit at all? So I've stayed in the Royal Scots Club in Edinburgh. I've stayed in the RAF Club in London. So anyway, it's a pretty cool benefit. We have a daily happy hour with outstanding city views. I'll show you the view here in a minute. When I say a daily happy hour, it's hosted. If you want to sit down at the bar stool from 4 to 6 and drink as many martinis as you can, it's not encouraged, but you can do that. Okay. We have Chesty's Bar and Grill. It's a nice restaurant upstairs. Anybody know who Chesty is? Chesty Puller. Have you heard of that guy? The most decorated Marine in history, 5 Navy crosses. He started as a private, retired as a lieutenant general, fought in Guadalcanal, Chosin Reservoir, Peleliu. I mean, this guy was incredible. If you want to Google him, it's pretty funny. There's things out there called Pullerisms, his sayings, and the Marines love it, right? So here's one of them. When the first time Chesty Puller saw a flamethrower, he said, "Where do I put the bayonet?" I mean, the Marines like that stuff. And then he said, another one is, "Okay, guys, we've been looking for the enemy. We've found him. He's to our front, he's to our rear, and our left and our right." He said, "The decision-making is real simple." I mean, that's the way the guy talked. But anyway, if you look them up, there are Pullerisms out there you could probably use in your business. Anyway, that's what we do. We also have great events. George Schultz was an active member of our club until he died last year. Anyway, we have a great speaker series, and then, various things there you can read. So next slide, please. Okay, philanthropic programs. We do this through funding we get through the C3 and the C19. Next slide. Okay, we host Gold Star parents for a weekend every year. And does anybody know what a Gold Star parent is? Okay, so a Gold Star parent, or a Gold Star family actually, is a family who has lost a loved one in armed conflict. It's never happened to me, but I will tell you that we host this this meeting once a year, and it's a three-day weekend. I've been there when it happens. It's unbelievable what you see there and the emotion. But what we do is we bring the families in, they can actually put up a memorial to their child or their brother or whoever it happened to. We have a nice service. We have some counselors on board, whatever, but the great thing is the healing that these folks get from being with other families that are in the same boat. And we've been doing that since 1947 in this room right here. So next slide. Okay, we have a living memorial, and I've got a handout I'll give you. Basically, all the 12 floors of this building commemorate something to do with the military. We call this 10M, 10 mezzanine, that's the floor. So there's a plaque there for every soldier, sailor, airman, Marine that's been killed since 9/11. Okay, so that's the war on terrorism. This is a hall here where members can, put a plaque up to honor their, fallen loved one, friend, whatever. This is a lounge downstairs. That's a memorial to Marine Corps aviation. Fascinating stuff. And then this is the entranceway when you come in the building. That's a registration desk. We have commemorative exhibits set up for most of the Marine conflicts that have been going on since Halls of Montezuma. We also have a really nice commemoration to women in the Marines and African Americans in the Marines. And I'll show you those later on. Next slide. We also give scholarships. We give out $250,000 worth of scholarships to members of the association, their kids or their grandkids. So active duty, grandchildren, children. It's a competitive process. I sat on it last year, and they go to universities all over the country. So kind of like us with what we do at the Boys and Girls Club. Another thing we do is aid and assist. We actually send care packages. I guess if I were Winston Churchill, I would say to the outposts of the empire, these are places where they don't get care packages. So that's somewhere in Afghanistan, of course. We also scholarship young Marines as far as, young active duty military members would pay their dues. And then we have a great speaker series that funds some of this. That guy's General Mattis there. He was actually on the board when I joined. And this is Michael Saray, who was one of our board members. You probably recognize him from the PBS NewsHour. He's a news reporter and a producer there. So next slide. We do education and historic events. We have a great series called Leading from the Front. The YouTube videos are out there. We put out one a year, and it's a major production. And I'll tell you what, I have a new respect for what Steve did with the Veterans Project. Doing these, we fund them, we produce them. It's a lot of work, but it's certainly worth it. So these are veterans who work in Silicon Valley executives. They did a series, 2 other veterans about how to get in that line of work. This is called Leading from the Front. This is Michael Saray. We did this about a year ago, and it's called Racial Equity in the Military. This is a retired Command Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps. The Command Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps is the second most powerful person in the Marine Corps, just behind the Commandant. He's from Memphis, Tennessee, 35 years in the Marine Corps. And so Mike talks to him about leadership and racial equity from the enlisted standpoint. This gentleman here, MC, was an Annapolis graduate, captain in the Marine Corps, got out, 22 years in the FBI, and now he has a cybersecurity firm in Washington. But if you don't do anything, after you see this, I would recommend going to YouTube, Leading from the Front, and watching this right here. It's really good, and it'll probably answer Anita's question. General McChrystal, Joint Forces or Special Forces Commander of Troops in Afghanistan, kind of a controversial guy. So anyway, I heard somebody say, yeah, anyway, so, but it's worth seeing what he had to say too. And then we also host military reunions. These are guys that were chosen reservoir guys, so in Korea. So next slide. Facilities. Next slide. We have a 140 room hotel in San Francisco, right off of Union Square. These are the rooms that are there. The cool thing about this place, remember, it started as a women's club. No two rooms are alike. I mean, this place right here was probably some kind of a parlor or something, and we turned it into a suite, standard hotel room and a suite. So we have 140 rooms. Now, I get asked all the time, like, what do rooms cost? Member rate on a room like this is $219 a night. That's bed and breakfast and a hosted happy hour. At the Fairmont up the street, 4 blocks up the street, I've stayed there. The room is not as nice. Right now, they're charging $429 for something like that with no breakfast and no hosted happy hour. And then a suite like this is $359 for members. So if you go to San Francisco and you're eligible to be a member of this club, you need to stay there. So it's a like I said, a fantastic place. Next slide, please. Event venue. So this building was built, well, built in 1927, and I don't know what you call Art Deco something style. It is fantastic. Honestly, when you go there and you're on the board and you kind of look around this place, you feel like you're a curator of some kind of a national treasure, because you really are. That's the good news. The bad news is you're a curator of a national treasure. But anyway, so we do weddings, and actually our catering business, pretty active. I mean, we have something going there all the time. Haven't had that in 2 years, but it's a great place for a venue. This is the regimental room. I mean, how cool is this? So the picture over there, this is like a replica of the Tun Tavern in Philadelphia. Anybody know what the Tun Tavern is? That's the original Marine Corps mess in Philadelphia. So beautiful room. And then we also do have great spaces for conferences and things. So at the Marine Corps birthday ball, to give you an idea of how much space we have, sit down dinner for 1,000 people. 3 years ago, this last year was 250 because we held it on one floor. We had to cut back because of the pandemic, the number of people. Anyway, beautiful facilities. Next slide. This is the General Ames Library. So for you military history buffs, 4,000 nonfiction books on anything you would ever want to know about any military, going from now back to probably the Egyptian Empire. But and this is up on the 11th floor. And I go up there a lot, and it's a kind of one of these places where they actually have copies of newspapers on the table. You can actually sit down and read. And I have slept, taken a nap in that chair many times. Anyway, and it goes, it's 1/3 of the floor of that big hotel. So it's a beautiful space. Next slide. Okay, Chesty's Bar and Grill. I just thought I would give you a picture. So this is the 12th floor of the building. This is looking east, and Transamerica Tower, Financial District. That's where the Carnelian Room used to be. Used to be owned by our former president. He sold it, I think, to pay bills. I'm talking the 43rd. Anyway, Mr. Trump. Anybody know what this building is right there? It's got a Rotary connection. That's where Rotary number 2 meets, right there in the Sir Francis Drake Hotel. Unfortunately, it's closed down now for remodel. It's been closed down for 2 years. The bar, and then this is the view you get when you sit down and eat your breakfast. So anyway, great place. Now, I'm going to show you I was there last week, and I was just kind of wandering around taking random photos. So the quality is probably not going to be as good here as has been in the first few slides. So when I walk out my door, here's the Medal of Honor and the original book written by Pappy Borington, Baba Black Sheep. I mean, that's right. It's right there, in front of your room. It's pretty cool. And this is the Medal of Honor Hall. The entire floor is full of citations from past Medal of Honor winners. And if you want to read something that's moving, read Medal of Honor citations. So right across the hall here is a young man, a Marine from Flowood, Mississippi, who received the Medal of Honor in Afghanistan 3 years ago. grenade goes into his outpost. He has on body armor. Got two other guys in there with him. He throws himself on the body armor. A grenade can kill him because it stops it, but it got his extremities. And so he's had 30 surgeries, and he just completed his first marathon in Jackson, Mississippi last year. So that's the kind of people you're dealing with when you talk Medal of Honor. Next slide. This is the front door here, and you recognize Cindy there. So remember, this was a girls' school originally. We have this beautiful ornate gate that you can close. And I don't know if it was to keep the girls in or the men out. I don't know, but it's pretty sturdy. But it's useful now, of course, because we're trying to keep the foot traffic down, because of the pandemic, et cetera. So normal times, we have about 1,200 people a day in that building, in and out of the building. So it's very busy. Next slide. Montford Point Marines, this is the memorial to the first African Americans that were brought in the Marine Corps in 1941. And they trained at Montford Point, North Carolina. A lot of great history there. Next slide. This is the memorial to women in the Marines. Women in the Marines, I think, came in about 1943 informally. In 1948, it was official that women could join the armed forces. So we had the first Marine Corps general officer, female, was in 1980, and the first lieutenant general in any of the services, female lieutenant general, was in 1996, Marine Corps officer. Once again, a fascinating story if you read it. Next slide. So this is the view from the library of the top of the Mark. So that's right up Nob Hill there. And a little bit of interesting history. My grandfather was a surgeon in Chicago when the war started. He sold his practice, joined the Army. So that at the time, he's like 42, and he was being sent to the Pacific. And so my grandparents lived on the top of the Mark for 6 months while he was waiting to, be shipped out. And my grandmother's funny, she's dead now, of course, but she said, yeah, they told us to hurry up, get out there. And we just sat in the Mark Hopkins for 6 months. I mean, she wasn't complaining, but I guess a lot of that went on in World War II. Okay, next slide. The Iwo Jima Memorial, you probably recognize this. This is actually in the bar, but we had an Iwo Jima reunion a number of years ago, way before my time. But anyway, you can see all the signatures here. It's the guys that were there, and the guys that were in that regiment that were in that fight. Next slide. 10M Memorial, I've already talked about that. Last week when I was there, we had some venture capitalists from Silicon Valley, and we had a bunch of veterans who are entrepreneur types who are starting companies and looking for capital in San Francisco and Silicon Valley. We had 180 people there, and it was put on by one of our board members who was in the venture capital business there. So I just thought I'd give you a flavor of what we do there. Next slide, please. So this is my friend Tim, who's on our board, and he's the one that put on this show. And so and he's a Marine, right? So I said, okay, Tim, smile, I'm gonna take your picture. And as soon as I did that, once a Marine, always a Marine, hooray, rest, I mean, just goes just like this, I thought that's kind of funny, but I guess you had to be there. Okay, next slide. Once again, that's the regimental room evening. Next slide. Fireplace regimental room. Next slide. 12th floor to the MMA. That's Cindy. And of course, just looking out, same thing. Sir Francis Drake Hotel. Next slide. Happy hour, 12th floor. That's me on the right, Cindy on the left. I'm kind of a wimp. I put ice in my drinks. And then one more slide, and I'm done here. No, keep going. Oh, that was our room. Next slide. Marine Corps Birthday Ball 2021. So now this slide has some real ties here to Catalina Rotary. The former president of Catalina Rotary Club, Michael Owen, brought me into this club. Bill Neubauer, Dr. Bill Neubauer, spoke to us on the Boys and Girls Club a number of years ago. Jeannie Neubauer owns Santa Cruz Chili Company. She's been a speaker here before. Jeff Tice, one of my good friends who was shot down in the first Gulf War, has spoken to our club before. And of course, there's me, there's Cindy, but anyway, Catalina Rotary ties. And these are ceramic bulldogs. And I'll answer any questions but I think I'm about to get booted here. Thanks.
Any questions? Wow,
I have a brief one.
please.
Tom, you mentioned the number of visitors normally in the building, but how much of it is accessible to the general public?
The answer is, if you want to go in there and look around, you're welcome to do it. But if you want to, I would recommend that you call in advance and say, hey, we would like a tour of the premises. It works out a lot better that way. You get a much better tour. Now, I do have some things that I'll pass out that we give to people who come in and say, hey, tell us about the Marines Memorial. I've got some handouts. It's a self-guided tour. Basically everything I've talked about. I'll leave that here. And then there's some copies of our annual report. And then we publish a magazine called Crossroads of the Corps that's really good. I'll put that out too. So I hope that answers that question. Do I have time to auction off 2 bottles of wine? Thank you. That's a good question. So we have 15,000 members. So annual membership is $200. For a family, it's $300, and that includes member, spouse, and adult kids over 21. So, I mean, both my kids are members, and there's a lifetime membership that's $4,500, but that's what it costs. So, and that gets you in. I know you go to San Francisco Opera. I'm going to sell you a membership after this meeting because I'm going to save you a ton of money. So, yeah. But wait. Yeah. As a matter of fact, if you're a benefactor member, every time you have dinner there, you get a bottle of Chardonnay or a bottle of Cab. All right. So I thought what I would do is auction off these 2 bottles that I bought when I was there. Retail price is $29. Now, this is Valiant's Chardonnay, Marines Memorial Association and Foundation, made by one of our members. And when you go have dinner there, you're welcome. You can purchase this, and there's a good story on the back, etc. So anyway, so retail price is $29. So I thought, from one foundation to another, from the Catalina Rotary Foundation, that's probably worth a little bit of a buyer's premium, I would say. So we'll start the bidding at $29. And remember, you're not buying the wine. It's for Catalina Rotary Foundation, what we do. So I got 29. What we got here, Pat? 30. We got $30 over here. Liz? 35. Got 35 over here. 35, give me 40. 35, give me 40. 35, give me 40. It's actually pretty good stuff, I'll tell you. It's Pat, okay. We got 40 over here. 40, give me 45, Liz. Okay, 45. 45, give me 50. 50. Looking for $50. $50. Oh, okay. Well, I like that. Okay, $50. Okay, going once, twice, gone. Here you go. Thank you, Liz. Come on, let's get a little excitement here. Now we got Cab. This is a great bottle of Cab, actually. It's a 2017. Okay, so was that a good one? You tell me. I don't know. Yeah, actually, I can tell you it's great. Once again, $29 retail value. This money's going to the Catalina Rotary Foundation. $30, Andy. 30, give me 35, Paul. 50, okay, $50. 60, I think we got some red wine aficionados here. 60, give me 65. It's for the Rotary Foundation, Catalina Rotary Foundation. Sorry, $70.
75.
75, looking for 75. 75. Okay, sorry. Who's that?
That's me.
Okay,
75.
Jeff, we got
Jeff,
75. 75, give me 80. Jeff, you got to unmute or you got to jump up and down and wave
I'm
your
sorry.
hand, man.
Well, I've got my hand up. I did have.
Okay. Okay, so we're at 75 now. 75, looking for 80. Looking for 80. Paul, got 80. 80 looking for 85. 80 looking for 85.
100 here.
All right, 100. Who's that? Is that Jeff? Okay, yeah. I hope that doesn't affect buying basketball tickets next year.
No.
$100 looking for 105. Okay, we got $100 going once, twice, 3 times. Sold a hamster for $100. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, while we're on a roll, I don't know if it's Pablo this week or Bob, but it is Queen of Hearts time.
The reason I was saying for Bob to help me just because happenstance, he's the Queen of Hearts winner again. That's the way it's not my fault.
Michael, how many tickets did you buy?
So Bobby B, here we go. I think it's up to like close to 1,400.
1,410, not that I'm counting. Ace of spades.
The ace of diamonds, ace of diamonds.
I don't have to touch.
You don't have to touch.
Yeah.
1,410 dollars. It'll be even higher next week. Don't forget to go online and purchase your tickets for the Queen of Hearts, or bring your money next week and buy them here. But you know, now that we're up in that 1,400 rarefied area, where Michael Troughton will pop out with a couple $100 worth of tickets, it's getting up to the point where you're not just getting your own money back. So it's worthwhile. Tom, thank you again. That really was a tremendous presentation. A lot of information in there. And I think you picked up another member here too. So I think that a double duty. We don't have a sergeant at arms this week, but I am open certainly to any happy bucks if anybody has any. And if we've sort of wiped everybody out with the wine sale, then it's telling me that next year we're certainly going to need more wine to auction off. Bob Delaney.
My grandson is 1.5 today. Andres Delaney got. So, and I just want to also say I have the IDs. So if you're going to be selling beer next week, see me before you leave and I'll give you your ID.
If you're even thinking of signing up to sell beer, grab one of those entrance passes before you leave. So, yes, Maria Elena would like to.
Thank you. I have 5 happy bucks in honor of David. He was a very important person to the Mariachi Conference, and we will certainly honor him this year. I am so sorry I had not heard about his passing. I will be sure to share that terrible news with the Mariachi board this evening. Thank you.
Any other happy buck? Yep.
Well, Michigan's basketball team has been up and down this year, but the most recent game is definitely worth a 10 spot or more. Sorry, Tony. Sort of.
Heck, I'm going to put in $5 because Northwestern did the unthinkable and they actually beat Indiana. Well, we'll take it. There we go. Any other happy bucks? Okay.
So it's been a pretty interesting week to be a Boiler and a Wildcat dad. The week started Boilers 3, Wildcats 4. That's probably going to at least switch this week. But yeah, Indiana beat Purdue. Michigan beat Purdue. Somebody else going to beat Purdue. Big Ten's a tough season, but I'll match that 10. It's been a good week for basketball, and go Cats, go Boilers.
Anyone else? Yes, Pat.
I'm happy because my alma mater beat the Wildcats. And then my alma mater beat UCLA.
All right. There's still a lot more sports out there. The U of A softball team is just getting started. The U of A baseball team is just getting started. There may be other teams you're following that have won or lost or tied, or you just want to promote. But I'm not seeing any. Okay. Next week, very important, we will be meeting. Sometimes we have not done so as we lead into rodeo, but we are meeting next week. Our topic will be behind the border, and our speaker is Tony Bartolo. So hopefully you can all join us right here on the 18th of February, and you will have plenty of time to buy your Queen of Hearts tickets. Before we close, I would like to thank our guests. Susan, thank you for coming back. I want to thank the hybrid team for all that they do for us. I want to thank those who joined us from Zoom, and if we missed any of your questions for Tom, I'm sorry, but I'm certain he'll still take your questions. And with that, if we can pop up the four-way test. Next week, you'll have Jimmy back as your MC and president. But for right now, the things that we think, say, and do, the four-way test, brought to you by Milagro, the park. That's okay. Number one, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you all very much. We stand adjourned.